In this video, I want to discuss the first episode of Attack on Titan, one of my favorite animes of all time, and it just happens to also be one of my favorite stories ever told. I recently started a rewatch with one of my friends, and after the first episode finished, I just was so blown away by the fact that I was so completely and utterly immersed. And I've seen the first episode like 3 or 4 times at this point. I Since the show ended, I haven't seen it since the beginning. But leading up to the ending, every new season I would rewatch it. So that first season I've seen, like I said, 3 or 4 times. Man, it's just so crazy the amount of immersion I feel in that first episode, and it just got me thinking. This episode clearly is at such a high quality. So I want to make this video just gushing about this first episode, and for the fellow Attack on Titan fans, you know what it is. You'll eat it up as well. But I also would like to reach maybe some people who haven't seen the anime or don't watch anime, because I think that this anime is extremely accessible to people. It has a very slow, or I should say subtle, build into getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more into the fantastical realm. I think even the people who fell out of love with Attack on Titan can all agree that this first episode is legendary. This episode is perfect because it's a perfect representation of what Attack on Titan has in store. It's dark, dramatic, epic, and most of all, tragic. Upon really looking deeper into this episode, I realized within just the first 2 minutes, so much world building is already established. The episode opens and we get this haunting narration.
And just like that, everything changed. At that terrible moment, in our hearts, we knew home was a pen. Humanity, cattle.
We see humans in terror looking up. We see a massive wall that is surrounding humanity, and you haven't gotten any explanation yet. You get so much. You gather that humans are within these massive walls, and clearly there's a threat that lies beyond. And then we see a massive skinless being, which obviously is a Titan, just rise above the wall. We don't know what's about to happen, but we know probably destruction. We get all that in 47 seconds. And then we get Hiroyuki Sawano's amazing legendary score. His score is incredible. It's so experimental. It's drawing from so many different genres. And I personally just love it because of how epic it is. It just heightens. Attack on Titan is special without the music, but it's so part of the anime, and it just heightens the writing, it heightens the animation. Then we see the scout regiment preparing for battle. We see normal sized Titans that are about 15 feet or 15 meters around there, and we just see how they're mindless and they just look weird. And then we also see the way humanity fights, the way they counter this threat of Titans. We see their ODM gear, the omnidirectional mobility gear. And we see that that's how they used to get around, and it's like two grappling guns on either side of your hip that just shoot out, and like that they can move around like Spider-Man almost. Especially the really good ones. They're just zipping around the cities like freaking Spider-Man. And then as weapons, they have swords, and they have on their sides multiple swords so they could interchange them out. Because I think after a couple of slashes against a Titan, the swords are already dull and messed up. We got all that in just 2 minutes. Now opening credits roll. I know I'm not reading into it. That's all there, It's just crazy how efficient storytelling, efficient writing, and that's the thing. Most of the show, I would say, but for sure the first season is just super tight. The writing is super tight. There's no filler. There's no side quests. There's no subplots that we don't really need. Like, it's just so tight, so great. After the opening credits, we go back in time before this event is about to take place. We get to meet our main characters, our protagonists, EREN Yeager. Eren's a young boy. Eren's a young boy who's hot-headed, open-minded. He longs to go outside of the walls. He doesn't care about life inside the walls. He just hates. He's so unsatisfied with this life, and he just feels like there has to be more. And he just doesn't understand the sheep mentality of just staying here. And he feels like they kind of referenced that quote in the beginning. He feels like cattle. He feels like an animal inside of a cage, and he just feels like there's more to life than this. He's a child. He doesn't understand the terrors that lie beyond the walls. Then we meet Mikasa Armin, his seemingly sister, but it's not his sister. We learned that pretty early on in the show. But in that first couple episodes, it seems like that's his sister. She's a quiet girl. She's very loyal to Eren, to her friends, and she's a badass. She's got natural warrior-like senses, and even as a little girl, it shows that she has a reputation with the other kids in the neighborhood, in the city, and they're immediately intimidated by her because she's just like a little cat. And then we meet Armin. When I saw the show when I was young, when I was in high school, I didn't care for Armin. But the older I get, the more I rewatch it, the more I'm like, no, there's Armin always had great writing. I was just young and immature, you know. But Armin is a very meek boy. He I think it's easy to classify him, as I used to, as like just like the annoying, weak side character, and is just a weakling and is always whining and emotional and can't control their emotions. But Armin is meek, but he's very principled, very logical, and very well read. And again, they're children, but it shows that he reads a lot of books. And just in that first interaction, he's getting picked on, he's getting beat up by them, but he like has a backbone, and he's not fighting for himself, but he's philosophically fighting them, and they don't even know how to respond to that because they're just dumb bullies. So Armin's an interesting, great character. And just like that, we meet our three main characters all within the span of about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes or so. And I feel like just in those interactions, we really get to know them, we really understand them, and then we see their dynamic, them three, discussing the walls, discussing life in the walls, discussing being unsatisfied, and Armin is giving his insight into his wise insights. Like, I want to know what's outside the walls, but I understand the logic of wanting to stay safe within the walls. And Eren, being hot-headed and impulsive, is just like, no, like, I hate this. I want to get out of here. And Mikasa is also trying to protect him. And I love because that conversation is a small representation of the dynamic that is to come in the next 4 seasons. Eren being impulsive, angry, and wanting more, wanting to keep going further, pushing the boundaries. And Armin and Mikasa trying to reason with him and reel him in, and just, yeah, that's the dynamic. And I just love how in that first episode, as children, that's established. Then we're caught up in the timeline of the events of the opening sequence. Destruction ensues. And again, the music is just epic. It's just so, it's like operatic. It's everything. It's opera, it's rock, it's just experimental, like synth stuff and almost like techno vibes, electronic stuff going on. The score is everything, and I love it. I love it so much. Especially the opera choir singing going on. We really get a sense of Attack on Titan, of what it's all about. How violent it is, how tragic it is, how horrific it is. Like, you're just so immersed in this world and in the tragedy. And in the acting is also so heightened. It's very dramatic acting, but it's not overacting. It's appropriate because, again, the story that's going on, that's being told, is so horrific. And you just can't help but just feel all these emotions as you're watching it as well. We see everything change for humanity. Clearly, this has never happened before. Earlier, there's some establishing shots when humanity's still at peace. We see that most of the Titans can't even reach the halfway point of this wall. That's how big this wall is. And the Titans are about 30 feet, 50 feet, I don't know. It does a good job of making you also understand why humanity is so chill, because they're completely safe behind these massive walls. And then we hear thunder and green lightning strike. Seemingly out of nowhere, out of thin air, this massive Titan appears with no skin. And again, it's the size of the wall. And clearly this is unprecedented. Clearly this has never happened before. These events, this tragedy that happens, it's the inciting incident of the entire show. And these events, these losses that these characters feel, are life-altering. It's why we get the 4-season story of Attack on Titan. We also get some hints of a key that is very important. It's a great mystery in multiple seasons of Attack on Titan, and it's established in the first episode. And just like, again, so much is established in the first episode, and it's just so great. And yeah, I love this anime so much. The first episode is perfect, and I think most of the show is perfect in my opinion. And I just feel like the manga writer, Hajime Isayama, his writing, in my opinion, is second only to Tolkien. to J.R.R. Tolkien. The world building, the intricate lore that is going on is just, it's overwhelming. It's unfathomable that one man could write all this. Because Tolkien is a unreachable status and level of fantasy writing. And I feel like he comes quite close because of how intricate everything is. But yeah, that's my rambling and expression of the first episode of Attack on Titan. I hope some people saw this that haven't seen Attack on Titan, that are not anime watchers, because I would love to be able to, even though this is one of the biggest animes in the world, in history, I would love to still broaden the horizons of its fandom to more film fans, people who don't watch anime, people who still think anime is just for children. For those of you who haven't seen it, if you watch the first episode, I'm confident you will be hooked. I'm confident that that will do the job. And then once you start to learn more and more and more, you'll be hooked, and hopefully you'll finish the whole series. So highly recommend it. And for my fellow Attack on Titan fans, feel free to express your love for the anime in the comment section below. I would love to just continue to connect and hear people's opinions about this anime. But yeah, thanks for watching.